have to keep telling myself that at the start of the week, with these 2 home games against Sheffield United and QPR, if we'd have got 1 win out of those 2 games, I'd have been happy with that. We have got a win out of those 2 games, but after that performance that I've just watched, that shambolic performance, I'm absolutely seething. And what is it about QPR? Bring the worst out of us. That's 2 games we've had against the R's this season, and they've been probably 2 of Oxford's poorest performances looking back over this whole season. It's a awful, awful result, an awful performance tonight from Oxford United. It was a golden opportunity to put a big gap between those sides at the bottom, but it's QPR who themselves were in bad form and were struggling, who've put that big gap between the bottom 3 and themselves, with a fine win that they've had over us at the Kassam tonight. And credit to QPR and credit to their fans. It was a QPR side that is very much out of form, very much struggling for bodies, and they've put in a heck of a performance to beat us tonight. It finished Oxford United 1, QPR 3. Maybe it was a little bit after the Lord Mayor's show from Saturday, but it was very sluggish, very sloppy, pretty much from the word go, and QPR have taken full advantage of it. And let's just say this is a QPR side that have been, as I said again, in terrible form, lost 6 away games on the spin, haven't got a recognised striker, really struggling for bodies in general, and they've come and done an absolute job on us. And so once again, full credit to QPR and their fans. You deserved it tonight. So the roller coaster continues, Oxford United fans. It was fantastic on Saturday. It's pretty dreadful on Tuesday, and we're back right in the mire again of this relegation battle, which once again feels like it is going to go to the wire. But let's just talk about the game quickly. As I said, Oxford were poor in this, particularly in the first half, and straight away they just allowed QPR to get into a little bit of a groove. They kept the ball really well for the first 5 or 6 minutes, or up until they got their first goal, and they didn't have to wait long for the first goal. It was from their first corner after 7 minutes. Ball into the box. Edwards gets his head on it, gets his shoulder on it at the near post. It goes towards goal, and I don't know how Jamie Cumming has let this ball in. He seems to just flap at it as he's trying to clear it, completely misses it, and it ends up in the back of the net. A really sloppy goal to concede. Jamie Cumming was superb against Sheffield United. It's a poor goal for him to concede here, a poor goal for Oxford to concede here, and on a night where you thought maybe it might be another game of few goals, we've gifted one to QPR straight away. And what made matters worse for Oxford is Mr. Oxford United, Mr. Consistent Kieran Brown, who's not missed a minute of football for donkey's years for Oxford United, goes off injured early in the first half. So Joe Bennett comes on to replace him, and it was just poor from United all the way through this first half. I'd say for the first 20 minutes, it was all QPR. They just passed it around Oxford with ease. They looked dangerous every time they went forward. And as I say again, this is a QPR side who did not have many, if any, recognised forward players, let alone strikers. But they just looked so much more composed from Oxford, who were once again awful in possession, just relying on smacking it long and seeing if we could get a corner or a throw in, and where Will Vaulks was just lobbing it in from all manner of distances away. But QPR dealt with it really easily, and they were just better in both boxes. And to make matters worse, you were thinking, okay, 1-0 down at half time, maybe we can have a bit of a rousing team talk and come out better in the second half. No, we go in 2-0 down. QPR recycle a ball into the box from the corner. The first ball was cleared, but it's a deep ball back into the area. I think it's Dunn who wins the first header. It's a very good header by Dunn. It's very attacking and gets it back into the middle of the goal. There's indecision from Romery, from Jamie Cumming, and it allows Field to stroll in, cause a bit of nonsense. I think it hits Field, it hits Cumming, it hits Romery, and it goes into the back of the net. Once again, terrible defending from Oxford United, giving ourselves a mountain to climb. I don't think there's many Oxford fans who saw us coming back into the game once we did go 2-0 down. And yeah, as I say, it was just awful first half. As bad a first half as we've had throughout the whole season. The players just looked miles off the level that we saw against Sheffield United. And I'd say overall, despite just being better in both penalty areas, QPR, they just looked technically better than the Oxford United players as well, who, once again, it was shockingly bad from open play. Other than a Cameron Brannigan volley, which forced Nardi into a good save, Oxford haven't even looked like scoring a goal. Big changes would be needed if we were to turn this around in the second half. You saw Gary Rowett make a change at half-time. You saw Tyler Goodrum come on for Romery. Oxford needed someone who could have a bit of composure on the ball, and Oxford were better in this second half. There's no doubt about it. We couldn't be much worse, and maybe with QPR sitting off and protecting their lead, Oxford did have more of the ball, but we still didn't look like scoring. But then we did find a goal on 62 minutes. We found a lifeline. Stan Mills had only just come on the pitch. It may have been his first touch of the ball as he headed a ball beyond Nardi really well into the back of the net. It was a broken passage of play, really, with Terravest going off injured, which meant Mills just coming on and QPR making changes as well. Plaheta changed flanks, and maybe all that confusion and the fact they were actually down to 10 men at the time for QPR gave Oxford that advantage that they needed to get the goal. But Plaheta played, who switched flanks over to the left, played a nice little scoop ball over the top of Dembele. It was a good ball into the box by Dembele, and Stan Mills arrived on it brilliantly to glance his header into the goal. It was nice to see a bit of quality from open play from Oxford. I've bemoaned it for a number of weeks how poor we looked from open play, but that was a good move. And Oxford had plenty of time to get back into this game, but what frustrated me the most, as much as they huffed and puffed, I don't think we played with any composure, despite the fact that we had 20, 25 minutes, maybe even up to 30 minutes with the injury time to get this equalising goal. I thought Oxford didn't play smart. We didn't try to pass the ball around really well through the thirds. We didn't look to get the wingers into the game too often, especially after Mills having that goal. You thought he would have been desperate to just run and run and run. It was far too often just banging a ball up long once again and seeing if we could play off the second ball. And again, QPR sat deep. Oxford did have pressure. There weren't too many chances for Nardi to say again. It was just a Brannigan long-range effort, which he was able to get down and save. But despite Oxford putting balls into the box, QPR dealt with it well all game. And even with 11 minutes of injury time, you still had hope of getting an equaliser. But it was QPR who killed the game off on the break. Oxford losing the ball in midfield. Dembele's brother breaking forward to the edge of the box. He played in Yang, who had a bit of space on the left-hand side, and it was a lovely, composed finish from the young Korean forward player past Jamie Cumming into the back of the net. QPR win it by 3-1. A fantastic away win, and I don't think there's many QPR fans that would have expected it before the game. So once again, congratulations to you guys. For Oxford, we're left scratching our heads as we take one step forward, 2 steps back. Yeah, I do just want to give credit to QPR once again and their travelling away fans. You had a lot to moan about in recent weeks with the struggling form and with the amount of injuries. You even had injuries in this game as well. What has happened? Have you smashed a load of mirrors in your changing room? Because at one point it looked like you were challenging for the playoffs, but a desperate run of form has seen you fall down the league, and maybe that's the one win that you needed now where you can start to relax towards the end of the season. But no recognised striker, but no problem for the R's, who relied on getting goals from set pieces in the first half, and they looked really good from the set pieces that they had. They looked dangerous, and they looked like they were going to score a goal every time it went in. Actually, funnily, there was a lot of dejection from QPR fans when they saw that starting lineup. That tends to happen when you're on a bad run. But I thought they were excellent. I thought they were really good, particularly in the first half. But even in the second half, you defended really well. You looked composed when you went forward. I thought Powell looked really good. Hopefully he's not out for the season now, because I thought he was good at fullback. Varane looked good in the middle. Field as well looked good. Hopefully he's not out for too long. But again, even when the subs came on with Dembele and with Yang, they came on and looked pretty lively. Maybe it's just Oxford were exceptionally poor. But well done to QPR, well done to the R's. It's a double over Oxford United this season, and I think that's pretty much put any relegation fears to bed. I wish I could say the same, but hopefully we'll be playing you guys next season. Let's just talk about Oxford and Gary Rowett. I thought that the unchanged side was a good call. I thought you kind of had to do that after the way they played so heroically against Sheffield United, but it was just terrible. Terrible right from the start of the game, just sluggish and sloppy, and we just let QPR dictate terms to us, and it was very easy for them to play against Oxford, who just looked really, everybody just looked so flat, and even the crowd were really flat. And again, this is one where we kind of needed the players to give the crowd a lift, but we never got it. We've lost Kieran Brown to injury now. Hidi Terravest is probably going to be out of the Sheffield United game if he's got a concussion. He's probably going to be out. So there's going to be changes at the back. That might be Brown out for the season now as well. That's a huge blow for Oxford United. He's been, if not the player of the season, he's been just behind Jamie Cumming in that stake. So we might have to get these final few points that we need without Kieran Brown. But overall, it was just shocking defending. Jamie Cumming even had a really off day today in the sticks. I thought going forward, Mark Harris, we didn't give him much service, but he didn't offer anything. I think he barely touched the ball in the whole game. He was slightly better in the second half. But again, I wouldn't have minded Bradshaw coming on with Harris up front and having two players for QPR to deal with, because Bradshaw didn't do too much more when he came on as well. And the one thing that annoyed me too is when we were chasing the game, is we felt like we were very frantic, and the players were like desperate to chase the ball, giving a lot away, a lot of silly fouls, and we didn't really need to do that. We had plenty of time left in the game to get the equaliser. We could have been more composed with our passing, tried to play it on the ground, tried to play it through the thirds, tried to get Goodrum on the ball in the middle, or Dembele on the ball in the middle, but more too often we just banged it up to Bradshaw, banged it up to the wings, and it made it quite easy for QPR to defend. Surely balls in behind would have been what QPR would have struggled against more, but Oxford obviously felt different. And all in all, this is an awful defeat. I feel a bit better after talking about it for 5 or 10 minutes, but it's an awful defeat. It's an awful performance. And we just have to hope we dust ourselves down and the players are angry and we can go and get something against Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. I was hoping that would be a good will and a good feeling game where Oxford might be able to take advantage of Wednesday's woes and get that final point or 3 points we needed to stay up. But that doesn't look like that's going to be the case now. It looks like it's going to be a typical nervy and a game away from home. The away form's been really poor. We need to pull something out of the bag. But I will just say again, if you looked at the start of the week, Sheffield United and QPR, you said we'd have one win out of that. I think you would have taken it. I would have taken it. I'm sure most people would have done as well. It's not the way round we would have expected it, but that just kind of shows you how the Championship is. We can't take things for granted. I felt maybe we did take things for granted a little bit today, and it's come back to bite us in the arse. We had a big response in the game against Wednesday on Saturday. I have a feeling Brannigan won't be playing in that game. I think he's playing through the pain barrier, and I think that they might just try and push him through now that we've lost it. But I feel that we might not go with Brannigan in that game, and we might save him for the 2 games that come up over Easter. But there's not too much more to say about this one. It was a shocking performance across the board. It kind of undid all the goodwill that was built up from that Sheffield United game. But hopefully it's going to give the players another rocket, another kick up the arse, and hopefully we get a response on Saturday. What a weird season. What a terrible result. Well done to QPR. As I said, you brought the worst out of us. Leave your comments down below. Thanks for all the support. I'll be back Saturday.